Poke the Bear is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play. Just $5. Just $5. And presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing a little bit better, a lot bit better than the Bruins. Bruins had a rough night on Tuesday. Nice start to the trip. You know, it's funny, that social clip I tweeted, I mentioned in the first 5 seconds, like, if their doors get blown off, then we know what kind of team they are. And their doors got blown fully off. I think the tires came off that game.
The steering wheel flew off.
Whew. Windows blew out
the window.
It's fine. I'm watching the Fast and Furious movies right now, and it reminds me of that. You know, cars just blowing up out of nowhere, and you know, all that stuff. Yes, it's all
about family though. When the Bruins fought the Jets at the end, it showed Dom Toretto would be nodding his head, be like,
"Yes, Brian O'Connor, Vince.
Yes,
that's just family."
Yes.
But so Bruins lose 8-1. Just lay an egg. I mean, and we've seen it too much this year. Dallas, Carolina, now you have this. What's the common thread of all those teams? They're Stanley Cup contenders. Not great. Just brutal way to start the trip.
Yeah, no other way to put it. Again, what we've talked about before with this team, you get these positive stretches here, but this feels like a step back, right? In terms of it falling into like the same things that really plagued this team early on in this year. And it's one thing if you like lose to, listen, the Winnipeg Jets are a very good team. If you lose 4-3 or something like that, hell, 5-3, shit, like you probably do that as a problem.
You'll take it.
It's not great. But a lot of the stuff we've seen before, right? I mean, the scoring issues are still there, which I don't think that's going to change really, barring some miraculous shooting percentages jumping up. But Bruins had, I think, 13 5-on-5 high danger looks. Didn't score at 5-on-5. Again, is that Hellebuck or is it the Bruins not being able to finish? Probably a little bit of both, right? But I think the other thing is stuff that you can control and you can correct, and what they have been doing over the last couple of weeks, right, in terms of not taking stupid penalties. Charlie McAvoy acting bewildered after he takes dumb penalties.
It is a trend. It just never ends with him with that stuff.
Yeah. You know, bad special teams play. You know, the PK has been really, really good. I think it was 90%, 91% since Sacco took over. Give up 3 power play goals against Winnipeg. Not good enough there. D-zone breakdowns, way too many, quality chances for a team like Winnipeg that has a lot of guys that can finish. Shout out Kyle Connor from the 2015 draft.
I love still getting the Twitter replies about Kyle Connor. People
happens
will
every single
never, ever forget that. And it will go forever until Kyle Connor retires, which is not going to, it's going to be for a long time.
Exactly. So you have that, and then you have another lackluster game from Jeremy Swayman. You compound that all together, you lead to an 8-1 result. Like, I think the Bruins would have lost regardless of who was in net, whether it's him or Korpisalo, but you look at the 5-on-5 numbers, right? I think Winnipeg had 5 high danger looks at 5-on-5 play. Pretty, like, if you're the Bruins, you're probably happy with that number. Like, they weren't giving up like grade A looks time, like every single shift at 5-on-5 play. 5 high danger looks. Winnipeg still outscored the Bruins at 5-on-5 play, 5-0. Not good enough. I think at 5-on-5, the Jets had an expected goals rate of 1.8. They got 5 goals out of it. Can't do that. Cannot do that.
You can't. And, again, like, we'll get into sort of how this happened. People can say, they were due for a loss like this. I look at it like I don't think they were due. I mean, I know they went down to Philly early. Marchand keeps mentioning they've had bad practices, stuff like that. They have too many of these games where it just snowballs. And, you could be watching the game and it's 3-1. You walk out to make yourself, a snack. You come back and it's 5-1. And then, you go to the bathroom, it's 7-1. And I think that's a problem. And I just look at some of the problems you mentioned. They're taking too many penalties. That's definitely near the top. Their penalty kill hasn't been good enough to protect themselves against taking too many penalties. So that's a problem. Your goaltending's been not great, nowhere near where it needs to be.
No,
And I think that's
bad.
one of the it's awful. And that's one of the things I think, like when you look at past seasons, even the last 2 years, like under Montgomery, they were not this defensive darling that they'd always been. It was just they had the goalie tandem and both were humming. And so it didn't matter. They could give up a chance right in front, they could turn the puck over, whatever. They were there to protect against those mistakes. That's not the case this year. Because Swayman hasn't just been average. He's been bad. And he's had some brutal nights. And then, by the way, they're leaving him in there. I find it interesting. I think all three of those, was the game in Carolina, did he get pulled in that? I want to say he might have. He didn't get pulled against Dallas. They left him in for that.
Yeah.
They left him in for Winnipeg. And, I know we can get into theories of do they hate Jeremy Swayman? I don't know if it's having him play through it, but it just ain't doing well this year. And a lot of people will say, Korpisalo hasn't had those games either. And I agree. I mean, Korpisalo's been better than we thought he'd be. But I also don't think Korpisalo's played those high-end teams that Swayman has. I'm not trying to make excuses for Jeremy Swayman, but that is the truth. But Swayman's been bad. And then your offense can't score at 5-on-5 against good teams or good goalies. So again, it goes back to what we talked about last week of this trip sort of being defining for them. And now they could win the next 4 and this game will be forgotten. Could easily be the case. But just going off that game against Winnipeg, it's well, if that's what they're going to be, then they're just a middle of the road playoff team. And you have to wonder about a retool. I think. I know it's one game, but that's how I see them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concerning trend, Evan, is the fact that I think over the course of a long season, even when the Bruins have been a very, lockdown, stingy team, hell, the year they went to the Cup in 19, their first game, they got smoked by the Capitals. That's 7-1, right? Every team goes through those games, right? But if you're a good team, it's once or twice, and it's so outrageous of the breaks not catching the breaks that you're well, that sucked. Burn this tape. Fuck this.
Didn't the Bruins have one in Dallas? I think in 21-22, they got crushed, and that was a one-off game.
And they got smoked by the Capitals at home. Remember in 21, and right after that, Don Sweeney was we're going to trade for Taylor Hall.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yes.
So I mean, here's the thing: those games happen, but they should not happen 4 times over the span of 30 games. There shouldn't be this many uncompetitive games where it's also not one of those things where it's you lose 7-5 and it's a shootout or something like that. It's games where I think the concerning thing with a lot of these losses where they're so lopsided is that there's stretches where it's 10 minutes of all right, they're finding the game. They're getting in even that game against Dallas, right? It was 2-1 Dallas going into the first intermission where the Bruins get a goal late, feel they're in it. For the first 10 minutes of this game, back and forth, trading chances, had a few good looks against Hellebuck. All right, you like where you're going. And then it just bottoms out and it just snowballs like crazy. I think that's the concerning thing. Not just the amount of these kind of lopsided games, but how quickly it's been the same thing with this team. They don't catch a break. They take bad penalties and they just they let the other team just land 4 or 5 haymakers on them because they can't handle that adversity. I think that is the concerning thing, is that when this team when the going gets tough against a very good team, they completely unravel. Again,
the tough does not get going.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing, and we talked about it before, right? Last week, where I think there was a little bit more optimism about this team, where it's hey, if you make the playoffs and you play the way you're playing against any team where you're really tough to play against, you're limiting scoring chances, you keep it a 2-1 game, and you let the breaks kind of fall where they may. You get a rebound or a tip. That's probably the most sustainable way you're going to go on a run here with this team and the personnel they have here. But you have to be a tough, committed team against really good teams, and that's not going to be the case if. Look at last year. The Bruins didn't have a lot of breaks go their way. And yes, the Panthers were a better team, but the Bruins didn't have those breaks not go their way, and they just completely implode, and the Panthers smoke them on the ice and embarrass them, right? It's hockey. You're not going to get breaks. You're going to have things not go your way. It's how you respond over the course of 60 minutes. And we've seen way too many times, whether it be that game against Winnipeg or Carolina, Dallas, you name it, Florida, the first game of the year.
I was going to say that first game of the year.
where they just have let the game get away from them like that. Like, and you can't play games that way. So I think that is a concerning trend, is just the manner in which they're letting these games bottom out of nowhere. As you said, you go to your fridge, get a drink, come back, and all of a sudden you got 2 or 3 goals. And you can't do that. The league is too good.
No, you can't go out to get a drink from the fridge during the game. Maybe that's why. Maybe Connor. Maybe that's why the Bruins are. Hey, I have this, by the way. I've been doing the $6 meal deal recently. I drink decaf. But yeah, I've been getting those some morning hits. I have a dunk size coffee for those listening on audios. Yeah, we're trying our best. I think they're raising their prices. That's why they're doing the $6 meal deal. But you know what? You know what, Connor? If you want to use your money wisely, go to Prize Picks. Our friends over at Prize Picks, because it's the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks, they put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money in as quick as 15 minutes, which I'm very happy about. Bruins-wise, I said it on Bruins Beat, or I said it last week. These games are late. You want to make them more fun. This Bruins team's a little boring, so you want to, have your eyes open a little more, sit on the edge of your seat. Make sure to go to Prize Picks. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Don't even need to win you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus, because it's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Run your game. You're right. The Bruins unravel. They unravel. And you wonder about mental toughness. You wonder about leadership in those moments. And to me, you wonder about a 7-game playoff series. You're going to go up against a good team in the playoffs if you make it, right? Toronto, Florida, Tampa. Are you the second wild card and you play like New Jersey or Carolina? You're going up against a good team. And over the course of a 7-game series, like, are games just going to get away from you when you don't get a call, when the other team does something dirty, when you're taking a bunch of penalties? And I think that kind of, it keeps reinforcing, like, and I got away from this during the nice stretch after they hired Sacco, but nights like Tuesday make me go back to, should they just retool this year? And if you make the playoffs, great. And I don't mean like trading everybody, but like a Frederick or a Geeky, or just trying to recoup some assets. Like, at nights like the game against Winnipeg, to me, just kind of make me kind of swing in that direction. Because again, they could win the rest of the trip and it's like, oh shoot, like, no, never mind. That's a one-off. But it's been too much. This is a big sample size. This has been the whole season. And to me, I just go back to that retool thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the very least, regardless of how this trip goes, I feel like this team still needs, pardon me, like a shakeup of some sort, right? In terms of a trade or something like that to change things around. Like, I mean, at this point, do you consider like bringing back Matt Patra, who I think has got 4 goals and 4 assists his last 5 games, I think. So he's heating up down there.
Loved him down there.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's playing, which is kind of what we talked about, even probably back before camp even started, of like the pros and cons of putting him down there. You have him down there marinating for a little bit. And I know he kind of started a little slow, but he's been on fire as of late. Is he a guy you bring up now that is feeling really confident about his game? That's something I think you have to consider in terms of just how barren this team is in terms of skill and playmaking. But it does feel like you do need something, right, in terms of some sort of shakeup move. Like, I don't think, as you said, I don't know if that means like you trade Marchand or anything like that, but a Geeky, a Frederick, someone like that, if it shuffles things up a little bit, if it gives you another element to one of your lines, I think that has to be considered right now, because as you said, like, I don't think we're able to make any sweeping, conclusions on what this team is until probably the end of this trip. And who knows, even after that, this team could also go like, 3-2 on this road trip. They go 2-3 and be like, all right, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, and that might be what ends up. up being, right? Something more along those lines, which maybe just paints a picture of this team as being, like that could also be what it is. But I do think when you look at just the personnel they have here, it does feel like there needs to be some sort of shakeup just to change some things around. Because right now it's either there's too many guys who aren't pulling their weight, or guys are too comfortable, or what. But as you said, like the manner in which you lose that game on Tuesday, like you can't have those games keep on continuing the way they are, where you just spiral out of control like that. It's just the way they lost that game, I think, was the most discouraging part of it. Not just the score, like there's sometimes a lot of breaks don't go your way. Your D zone completely implodes, and it wasn't great, but to lose like that, where you just give up goal after goal in short order like that, ugly. It was ugly all around.
Yeah, when they scored that shot from the corner and it just like snuck by, it's like, dude, like, come on. And then you have that other shot. I think it was a Connor in front of the net, just that slap shot that just went right over his glove, and it was like, all right, well, like,
turnover went, and
20
then
minutes ago.
I think it was the 7th goal, right, where it was just basic turnover, slapper up high, like beats him clean,
And by then the game's over, but like it's still just like, I think, and I wonder if how much of it comes from the lack of confidence they have in their offense, where it's like if a team gets 4 or 5 goals, it's like, shit, this is over. Like, and you just see that letdown, and you wonder if that permeates into the net, if that permeates on D, where it's like, it's 5-2 now, we have no chance. And I just wonder how much that has to do with it, because I mean, they like, and that's weird because I've not seen a Bruins team in a long time just sort of give up at the end, even when the game's out of it. Like, just, and I don't mind the response they gave of let's drop the gloves 3 or 4 times. Like, I think that's smart. You're losing that game. You're out of it. You played like shit. If that's what sparks you, that's what sparks you. I'm not going to get all like hyped. Like, Frederick one-punched him. Like, it's
this guy
cool.
who doesn't fight either. Like, you wonder why the Winnipeg Jets rolled out their first power play after that, because they were fucking pissed. So.
Now, that's on the kid from Winnipeg for taking the fight, sure, but also Frederick wanted to go, and like we got on Kachuk back in the playoffs for picking on Pasternak. Like, it's the same kind of thing. Yes, he obliged, but like it is heat of the moment, and I don't know if Frederick knew he'd never fought before. Like, I don't know if they have, Rolodexes in their head of like, they have a technology in their visor.
Yeah,
where
like a little wanted poster. The little wanted poster they just slap in the locker room before the game starts.
I was going to say, like, each guy has like, like this guy's 5 fights to his name. Frederick's like, oh, I'm going to go fight him.
Frederick's book, he just opened it. It's just Brendan Lemieux, Brendan Lemieux, Brendan Lemieux, Brendan Lemieux.
Over and over and over. I think, is Lemieux over in Europe? Lemieux's on the NHL anymore.
He just got cut by the Hurricanes. I don't think he's got a job right now. So
damn, Bruins got to get him. That's exactly what it is. Bruins got to get him. That's the shakeup.
Just have 2 guys fighting in the dressing room the entire time.
It would be great. I just go back to, it's discouraging to see the way that they sort of let things go and let things get worse. And I think a lot of it comes from the offense. Talk about shaking things up. Just fire the coach again. Just keep firing the coach. Be like that Omaha Lancers in the USHL. Have you seen that?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Have you heard about that? They just keep firing. Yes. Like, after, I think they fired the first coach, who's a really good guy, Lenny Childs. They fired him after 4 games. Dude left a good job at Union, moved across the country with his family, and they fired him after 4 games, and they fired the next guy after like 18. Bruins got to do that. Just put the next guy in. Just keep rotating through.
Keep this up, Evan. You'll be like coaching the team by like the end of March. So
that's right. Yeah, you'll be right there with me. Like, you kidding me? Like, it's like propping the balloon up. Well, if you want to come see it, go to our friends over at Game Time. If that ends up happening and you want to come watch it in person. But in all seriousness, there's nothing like watching an NBA or an NHL game live. The energy in the building, the sounds on the ice, the memories you make with the people around you. It's the coolest part. And you can make these memories with Game Time. Game Time has the new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And the curation just makes it easier to save, which who wouldn't want that? And I love the flash deals. I always say it because I use it consistently. I like paying less for tickets. So flash deals helps me do that. Who doesn't want to do that? And also the seat views are really nice because I can like sit myself in the seat and pretend I'm looking out, and I'm like, all right, making sure there's no beams around me or anything that are hindering my view of the game. And again, just take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's game time. It's game time. It's game time. That's what time it is. Someone who needs to be told it's game time, Jeremy Swayman, needs to be better.
Great transition.
Sorry. Needs to be better. And everyone's, we're not talking about this for the first time. A lot of people are talking about it. Especially, I like the tweet. It was like he gave up a goal for every million he got out of the Bruins. It's a good tweet. A tough night for him. He'd been playing better. Like, that's the thing. Like, he had been better since Sacco took over. So, like, I don't want to act like this dude has just been bad for, the last couple weeks. But the overall part of the year, it's been tough for him. Definitely, I think his hardest year as a pro so far. Needs to be better. Do you wonder if they maybe we started talking about this a while ago about doing the tandem again with Korpisalo. Do you think we see a little bit more of Korpisalo?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, beyond the fact that just the baseline results say that Korpisalo has been the better or more consistent goalie as of late. But at this point, when you're desperate for points and you're trying to right the ship here, like, I think it can be a positive for two ways. One, like, you have Korpisalo in, who, again, has looked like the better goalie, gives you a better chance to win. That's the most important thing. But two, like, listen, Jeremy Swayman is a very competitive, very motivated, very driven guy. It's probably going to light a fire under his ass if you have Korpisalo eating into some of his stats as well. Like, as much as, like, even last year and the last couple of years, like, Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark, best buds. Both those guys want to play. Like, yes. Linus Ullmark had a rough time in terms of, like, great teammate, super supportive, but he is a professional athlete, a damn good goalie who's very competitive, who did not like that, he was pretty much put on the sidelines the rest of the way. Like, that is.
And you saw that in the playoffs, by the way. You saw that in the playoffs.
Yes, like, he was very candid up front. That's why Ullmark's a great guy to talk to, because he will tell you how he's feeling. And again, consummate pro, like, dealing with it, but these guys want to play. So if Jeremy Swayman, who signs a $66 million contract, who talks about wanting to be a franchise pillar for this team, starts getting his minutes taken away by a guy that all of us were like, Korpisalo, bring in Brendan Bussey. Like, and again, Korpisalo's proven us wrong. So I think that same sentiment has to be kind of put in for Swayman of, like, all right, prove us wrong then. Like, we have all the confidence in you, but, like, until you start winning some of these games, like, and I think you need Jeremy Swayman to play at that level, because fair or not, like, and it's probably fair because he just signed that contract. Like, the Bruins personnel, like, the way they're built right now, you can't have off nights like that. You can't have, again, as I said earlier, Jets to have an expected goals rate of 1.8, 5-on-5 play. If Bruins do that, you should be able to be in those games. But when the Jets have a 1.8 expected goals rate and they score 5-on-5 goals, you're going to lose that game. And it's just not good enough the way this team is built. And you look at, like, a Swayman right now, according to Money Puck, is the last in the league in terms of expected goals this season at minus 11.6. So the average goalie has saved nearly 12 more goals than Jeremy Swayman has. You add that with the fact this team can't score, 12 goals counts as a couple of losses. Like, that is a ugly number so far.
We talked about that with Pastrnak. If he had a couple more goals, they might have a couple more wins. That's why it's a miracle this team is in the playoffs.
This team could be like 21-7. Like, if, like, Pastrnak scores like 3 or 4 more goals and Jeremy Swayman is a league average goalie, like,
they're better. That's why I don't think, like, obviously we have been incorrect in our preseason assessment of this team being a cup contender. Like, yes, I know everybody wants us to start, like, ripping the front office and ripping the roster and this and that, which, like, we have. But, like, you're right. Like, you get a little more from Pastrnak. Swayman's better. which obviously hasn't been the case. Like, again, like, if the Red Sox offered $100 million more, maybe Soto's a Red Sox, and they didn't. So, like, who cares? Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. But, like, I don't know. Swayman, it baffles me. I also think there's just so much more, pressure on him. That's why, like, you're right. You can't have off nights. Olmark's not there. You're making a ton more money. I do think, though, and you hit on this, competition helps some goalies. Like yes, there are a lot of goalies who just will have the number one job and never give it up and everything. But some guys need to be pushed. Some guys, and it's not a fault, but it happens. And you saw that even with Rask a little bit towards the end there with Halak, where it was like Halak sort of helped bring the best out of Rask, played a little bit less, but also kept him on his toes. I remember that first year, there was like legitimate talk that Halak would start the Winter Classic. I just, I go back to these two, and like, I think play Korpisalo more. Like, I'm for it. Like, if it motivates Swayman, great. If Korpisalo is just better, like, then roll with the hot hand. So that's one thing. Another thing on D, Mason Lohrei did have some points entering Tuesday's game, but had a rough night. Had a really rough night. And I think this is one of the tough things with Lohrei, where, like, him coming up, we've always been sort of programmed to accept, hey, you know what, there's going to be some defensive issues, but he's going to make up for it on the offensive end. I think nights like Tuesday, where the gap control's not there, the missed coverages out front, like, and there's no offense at the other end. It's like, all right, dude, like, can't have that. Does he get scratched? Does Wotherspoon draw back in?
You wonder if that is a move that has to be made at least some point during this road trip. And again, it's tough because you like the positives he can bring, but yeah, in terms of his D zone coverage, like being able to pick up, like, it has been an issue this year. And it's a guy that I think we were very high going into the year, and it feels bad. I don't want to bury the guy because he's still, like, it is his first full season in the NHL.
Yeah,
but,
that's the other part of it too.
But yeah, in terms of, I think, what the expectations were, hasn't really been there in terms of way too much peaks and valleys with him so far. Wouldn't be surprised. Again, it takes away some of the playmaking of your group, but again, when you look at where this team is right now, it's almost like I'd rather you just be airtight defensively and put pucks on net and go for those greasy goals than what you run the risk of having a little bit more offense with that group. So, this team is actually missing quite a bit? Hampus Lindholm. Him getting hurt was absolutely brutal for what this team needs right now.
Oh, yeah. No, because not only is he reliable defensively, but he moves pucks well, so he gets a clean breakout.
Unreal this year. So,
and he can quarterback that first power play unit. So yeah, I completely agree. They're missing him a lot. I think we've covered everything. We're recording this again before the game against Seattle on Thursday, so we'll see what happens there. But what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, well, I've covered every step of the way over at the Globe and Boston.com, whether that's recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. And you can also follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.